Hey guys, welcome to a recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And y'all, we're gonna squeeze the last bit of juice of some tea from the Real Housewives of Atlanta because they are not serving this season. I feel like this whole episode was a little bit boring, a little bit dry, but we'll get into it anyways. And I wanna know what you guys think of this episode. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let's get into the drama. So, guys, this is episode 15, Sip and Spill the Tea. And I felt like we did get a little bit of tea out of this episode from a person that I didn't even expect to give us tea. But with Sheree and her crew like to do their little surprises and whatnot. So this whole episode it centers around Sheree sip and see for her new grandbaby. She's now a new grandma. So she is living the whole fantasy, and she, of course, she knows how to throw an extravagant party. Who knows if she paid the people, but she likes to throw an extravagant party. But before we get into Miss Sheree, let's get into what was going on with the other girls, okay? So, they let Miss Drew carry this whole season. So we're gonna get into a little bit more of a plot for Miss Drew Sidora. Now, Miss Drew has been giving us a good face. She's on good terms with Candy because she's getting a check. She keeps it really professional and she is being an actress and giving this role everything she can give. But that does not go without saying that is saying a lot of shade and throwing a lot of shade towards Miss Candy Brewer's Candy Coated Production slash Todd Production because y'all she says to pretty much her manager that she's not doing anything if it's not lifetime, and I'm like, what does that have to do with Candy? What are you trying to say? But it was a little bit shady. But Todd, he's being quite frugal, he's being wise with the expenses. Filming a whole movie is not cheap, okay? And he's using the best advice from Tyler Perry, which is to use the space that you already have. So he is filming a good chunk of this movie in their home, Candy and Todd's home. So, of course, Drew is like, I ain't not used to this. I'm used to a little bit different, but she is not passing down this good check that she's receiving with Candy and Todd Tucker. Okay. I wouldn't either, and I wouldn't be complaining, ma'am. They booked you. If you didn't want to be booked, you don't have to be booked. You could have passed down the role. So Todd is very serious about moving along with his movie. So he is filming a lot of scenes, and Drew has this famous little scene with a woman, which of course her husband is so into getting the whole details about rather than asking her how she's liking this role as a whole. So we get a little moment with Drew and her husband Ralph, and they are trying. I'm seeing all the little irky things that she can find towards Ralph because Ralph, he doesn't know how to just ask her like how is your day, how it was, just plainly. He has to just add a little extraness to it, which I feel like is not necessary, especially if you're not on the best of terms with your wife. If you guys are going through it and you're not going to counseling, I don't think this is the right time to take jabs at Drew. So Drew is trying to explain how she can relates a lot towards her couple. So of course Ralphie throws in and says that, oh, do you relate being a lesbian? And I'm like, this is not necessary. You clearly can tell Drew is not feeling this whole conversation at all. And it's just a whole letdown moment. And we're going to see a little bit later along the lines where these two ultimately start to file for divorce. And we are just seeing how it pretty much got to that point. And I can see how Drew is very irritated with Ralph. She's running long hours. So 3 a.m. in the morning, she's working, filming this movie with Todd, for Todd. And that is taking a toll on her marriage too, as well, because Ralph is like, I gotta watch over these kids. That is too much for me. I need to have my own life. But Drew is like, no, this is a partnership. You gotta carry the weight too, as well. And it's just hard to watch how, work is really getting in the middle of this marriage, but they also fail to communicate and kind of work through that. And it's so unfortunate and sad to watch. We do get to see other castmates carry this season. We get to see a little bit more into Marlo's life. She has a whole pretty much party celebration for those in the adoption process, those who are in the community who are thriving and succeeding in the community of Atlanta, being recognized for their work. And on top of that, it goes to show for the kids, those who are observing Marlo and her organization, how those who were in adoptive care can succeed and be, models for the communities, which I think is a beautiful thing and is a soft spot for me to see for Marlo, because Marlo, she tends to be in the drama, but she does bring a good cause up in the forefront. And I think what that work that she's doing is great. I just wish too as well we get to see some of the other ladies in their work and doing good. Like for example, we didn't see much of Miss Kenya Samamore, and I feel like, as everyone has been saying online, that she is getting the edit, like she's getting pushed out of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Apparently, there's scenes that we don't get to see from Miss Kenya Samamore that she has for herself that she's trying to put onto TV, but it's not being aired by the producers. So I feel like this may be the last that we see Miss Twirl. So I hope she ends on a good note, because I hate when they leave on such a very boring season. So I need Miss Kenya some more to end with a bang. But I know that, if she doesn't return on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, she will return in some other capacity. I'm pretty sure this is not gonna be the last that we've seen her. Now, some pettiness that did go down is that, of course, Drew saw the video where Courtney did call her the B word, but I felt like that was so boring and not necessary. So that we're moving on from that. But I like to report good news. We did get to see Miss Sanya report to us some good positive news. We get to see her son kind of experience her pregnancy process. He is more than excited to be a big brother, and he wants to know ASAP when the baby's gonna be here. But we do get to see some previews where there's some sort of scare, a pregnancy scare. So we know that she is pregnant now and she's fine and healthy, but I know the process to get to that point was quite difficult. And I'm glad that Sanya is sharing. I'm actually interested in this and her bringing us on to this journey. Apparently, she's been too open about what's going on to her with her pregnancy with her son. As advised, Dr. Jackie said you should not, you should cut it out. But I'm glad we get to see a little bit more of Sanya. Okay, Sanya, I like that we get to see this of you. Of course, I'm gonna say congratulations again to Miss Sanya. Okay, so now, guys, we are now at Sheree's big moment, and she's gonna be late, but the party is gonna give extravaganza eleganza. She has a whole to do. They planned out everything with a planner, y'all, for a little baby who's gonna be half awake throughout this whole process. But I love that she's living and giving us this moment because it's her first grandbaby, and she's welcoming the grandbaby into the pretty much to the community, because everyone was pretty much invited. Everyone's side pieces were invited. So it was a nice and beautiful event. All the ladies were to wear nude, which was a difficult situation for the ladies to accomplish, but they made it. Now, when we get to see the party and everything, it definitely gave extravaganza eleganza. I was so proud of her because, Sheree, one thing about her is she knows how to throw a party. Now, Sheree, she is on such good terms with everybody that she invites everyone. And she may not even know who is there, which we learn apparently. She apparently never met her, how would you call that? Daughter, but not daughter, like your stepdaughter? I guess your stepdaughter. That she never met her stepdaughter, but apparently the stepdaughter has met her and the kids are well aware. But let's get into that a little bit later. So before we get into that, Drew, she's heading over to Sheree's party, and she does not want to go inside. And that is because apparently Sheree has invited someone who assaulted Drew, And we do get a flashback to who this person is. And I recall Anthony. Anthony was the one who made so many accusations about Drew's husband. They apparently just don't like each other. And I felt like, okay, we need these side characters to carry this season. I felt like this was not necessary. Sheree didn't have to invite Anthony. And Anthony was doing too much. I feel like Anthony. You want a peach too, sweetie? I felt like, Drew had every right to say that, she's not stepping into the party unless, there's some space or something happens with Anthony, because she's the main cast on this franchise. So if she have a report that's filed about someone assaulting her and you put her in the same vicinity of her, that does not make sense. I would have left the party. I would have said, "Oh, that is not necessary for me." But Miss Drew needs to check, and so she's convinced ultimately by Candy to come to the party because she expressed that in Chateau Charades, so grand, so big that y'all will not be close and they will make sure everything is good. So that was a little bit of the drama going on. But where the tea is spilled is when we get an appearance from Bob. Bob, Charede's ex-husband, who for some reason, when he talks, when you see him, it seems like a lovable, cuddable teddy bear. But this teddy bear is violent. This teddy bear is vicious. I feel like he's done so many wrongs, but for some reason, something about his character, something about his personality, you forget about those things and you're open to hearing what Bob has to say, and it's always going to be a joke. It's always going to be something interesting. But in that moment where we see the family do a photo shoot with the baby, Bob was standing, there was a woman standing in front of Bob, and the women, they questioned whether or not this was his date or is this his daughter, and it was like shade but no shade. We learned that that is his daughter. And Sheree is like, huh? Everyone on the cast was confused too as well, because they thought he had two children prior to Sheree. So they're confused, who's this person? So apparently this person, is the third of the previous children, or the middle of the previous children, and he explains and he introduced her to Miss Sheree, and Sheree, she's nice, she is polite, and the daughter was also sweet as well, Candace. She says that, she's super polite. She's grateful that she's there and that she's known Cairo and Sheree's kids. They've been together quite some time. So she is not unfamiliar with the kids and being at the parties, but Sheree has not a clue, no idea what is going on. And it's just a blank stare. And I'm like, Sheree. I'm like, Bob, why didn't you tell Sheree? And he is like so mean. He's like pretty much explaining to the ladies that it was on a need to know basis. It was not something to be open about. And I feel like that is super manipulative, because I felt like, he was not giving Sheree the choice to be accepting of a man who has three kids versus two. Okay. I felt like that is some manipulation. That is terrible. And I was looking down at that whole situation. It was so gross. So gross. And Sheree, I don't know. Sheree doesn't react really. I feel like she knows how to hold it in. And I feel like Sheree's going. Is Sheree in the center? Is she going to be in the center in the reunion? I wonder now. But that was a lot. And Bob, as quickly as he was in the space, he removed himself, because he's like, he's not the one who was thinking to be in the hot seat whatsoever. So yeah, I felt like that was the biggest deal of this whole episode. So apparently there's another episode after this. I felt like they could have closed it at here. I thought this was the close, but I guess there's still some stuff that we have to go through to wrap up. But I wonder what more scenes are we gonna get from Kenya, as we have seen this whole episode and from previous episodes. A lot of things have been going on with Kenya, but we're not actually seeing it on the show. So I wonder what we're gonna see next episode and what else she's gonna spill and tell us. Okay, but I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. I felt like, it's been average at best. I feel like we haven't gotten classic Reed, classic Shade. So I feel like We need a reboot and desperately, but I'm like, but with who? Because I don't want to do a reboot with known people. I think I like the formula where we meet a whole new cast of women and they're actually friends. Okay, that's what I want to see. So we'll see, and we'll keep up to date about this. Let me know down in the comments down below your thoughts of this episode. And as always, do not forget to share as much kindness as possible, and we'll talk to each other soon. Bye, guys.